Good morning, ma. Welcome to Alpha Online Education, Commerce Theory part for the English medium second years. And the chapter we are dealing with, that is the banking services, and the part 5. We are dealing with the session, that is the fifth session of the banking services part. So in the first classification of banks, today's topic is about the classification of banks. The banks are generally classified into two categories. One is, first the main bank is RBI, Reserve Bank of India. The Reserve Bank of India is classified into two banks. One is scheduled bank and another one is non-scheduled bank. One is scheduled bank, which follows the RBI rules and regulations. Non-scheduled bank, which does not follow the RBI rules and regulations. Okay, there are two banks. Now first we discuss about the scheduled banks. Afterwards we will discuss in last about the non-scheduled banks. Let us see what are the scheduled banks. Scheduled banks, banks which are included in the second schedule of Banking Regulation Act 1965. The bank which are included in the second schedule of Banking Regulation Act 1965, those banks are considered as scheduled banks. Okay, they have to be included in the second schedule of Banking Regulation Act 1965. Then those banks are considered as scheduled banks, means they are following the rules and regulations of RBI. Okay, next, there are certain requirements are there for the scheduled banks to be included in the second schedule of the Banking Regulation Act 1965. 1965 యాక్ట్లో వాళ్ళు నమోదు కావాలంటే షెడ్యూల్ బ్యాంక్స్కి కొన్ని నెసెసరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ కొన్ని డాక్యుమెంట్స్ని డిస్ప్లే చేసేది ఉంటుంది. అదేంటిది మేడం అంటే, మస్ట్ హ్యావ్ పేడ్ అప్ క్యాపిటల్ అండ్ రిజర్వ్స్. పేడ్ అప్ క్యాపిటల్ అండ్ రిజర్వ్స్ నాట్ లెస్ దాన్ 5 lakhs. Not less than 5 lakhs. Paid up capital or reserves, whatever the profit they are getting, from their profit they will keep a portion of the profit for the reserve, means save. The bank will save a certain portion of that profit, that is the reserve. So it should not be less than 5 lakhs rupees. And paid up capital, the capital which has to be paid, yes, so that capital should not be less than 5 lakhs rupees. Next, must also satisfy the RBI. The scheduled bank has to satisfy the RBI. Then only it can be included in the second schedule of Banking Regulation Act 1965. Otherwise it will be not included. Okay, that its affairs are not conducted in any manner detrimental, means harmful to the society. Detrimental means harmful to society. Means what it means, madam, means, listen, must also satisfy the RBI. Okay, these scheduled banks should have to satisfy the RBI by displaying all the necessary documents, that its affairs are not conducted in a manner detrimental to the interest of the depositors. Means this bank is not going to harm the depositors annattu undali. It should not harm to the society or depositors అని ఒక క్లియరెన్స్ సర్టిఫికెట్, ఓకే, ఒక క్లియరెన్స్ సర్టిఫికెట్ అనేది ఆర్బీఐ దగ్గర నుంచి తెచ్చుకోవాలి. ఆర్బీఐ ఆ సర్టిఫికెట్ ఎప్పుడు ఇస్తుంది మేడం అంటే, when the RBI is satisfied with the documents whatever submitted by the scheduled bank. When RBI is satisfied, then it will include that bank, that scheduled bank in the second schedule of Banking Regulation Act 1965. Okay. Next, these scheduled banks are classified into three categories. Okay, Nana? Classified into three categories. What are those, madam? Means one is scheduled cooperative banks, next commercial banks, and the third one is local area bank. It can also be abbreviated as LAB. Okay, LAB. So in this way also it can be lapse. In this way also there can be abbreviated. Don't get confused. One is scheduled cooperative bank, commercial bank, local area bank. Okay. RBI divided into two banks. Scheduled banks, non-scheduled banks. Scheduled banks satisfy the RBI. Non-scheduled banks not satisfy the RBI. There are included in the second schedule. These are not included in the second schedule of Banking Regulation Act 1965. Okay, these are not included. These are included. So, this is classified into scheduled cooperative bank, commercial bank, local area banks. Scheduled cooperative banks are those banks which have been included in the second schedule of RBI Act 1934. These banks are second schedule banks which are included in the RBI Act 1934. These scheduled cooperative banks are those banks which are included in the second schedule of RBI. RBI second schedule lo include ayi unnai, namodu ayi unnai according to the RBI Act 1934. According to the RBI Act 1934. See, don't get confused. Here scheduled bank under the Act 1965. Here scheduled cooperative banks under the Act 1934. Again, these scheduled cooperative banks are classified into urban cooperative banks and state cooperative banks. Okay, ma'am. So, urban cooperative banks, primarily cooperative banks or the primary cooperative banks, they provide financial services and loan side advances to the people who are located in the urban and semi-urban areas. Urban and semi-urban areas lo unna vallaki ante mandals lo unna vallaki, districts lo unna vallaki, what they will do? They will provide the services. Which services? Banking services. Banking services are which kind of services? Financial services. Okay. Next, state cooperative bank are those banks which are owned and managed by the state government. Those are owned, means the owner of those banks and manager of those banks, both are the state government itself. Okay, up to here we have the clarity. Now, let us move to the commercial banks. Commercial banks are those banks which run with the profit maximization. Profit maximization, they take the money from the persons who have excess money and give it to those who need money. Okay, they will take the money in the form of deposits and give it to the others in the form of loans. Thus, the activity performed by the commercial banks. Thus, the activity that performed by the commercial banks. Now, again the commercial banks are classified into Indian and foreign banks. Indian bank and foreign bank. Let us see. Indian bank means the bank which is registered in India, which follow the rules and regulations of the RBI. That banks are known as Indian banks. Again, these Indian banks are classified into three categories. Public sector banks, private sector banks, regional rural banks in rural areas. Okay. Public sector banks means more than 50% of the shares, more than 50% of the shares belongs to government. 50% of shares government ki sambandhinchinavi unte adi public sector bank. Okay, private sector bank ante majority of the shares are in the hands of private persons, not in the hands of the government. Private individuals చేతిలో more than 50% కన్నా ఎక్కువ షేర్స్ ఉంటే దాన్ని ప్రైవేట్ సెక్టార్ బ్యాంక్ అంటున్నాం. గవర్నమెంట్ పబ్లిక్ సెక్టార్ అంటే 50% ఆఫ్ ద షేర్స్ ఇన్ ద హ్యాండ్స్ ఆఫ్ గవర్నమెంట్. Regional rural banks. So these were established by RBI in the year 1975. So these banks, RRB, okay, RRB banks are established by the RBI in 1975. RRB provide facilities. They provide the financial facilities to small and marginal. Marginal means middle, small and medium farmers, agricultural laborers, artisans means who make the pots, okay, craft work చేసేటోళ్ళు ఉంటారు కదా, హ్యాండ్లూమ్స్ చేసేటోళ్ళు వాళ్ళు ఆర్టిషన్స్. అండ్ స్మాల్ ఎంటర్ప్రైజెస్ అంటే స్మాల్ ఎంటర్ప్రైజెస్ లైక్ మ్యాచ్ బాక్సెస్ ప్రిపేర్ చేసేటోళ్ళు, తర్వాత టొబాకో తోటి బీడీస్ తయారు చేసేటోళ్ళు, సిగరెట్స్ తయారు చేసేటోళ్ళు ఉంటారు కదా, అలాంటి ఇండస్ట్రీస్కి. So in the rural areas, whatever the small cottage industries, cottage ante small industries, okay, for that it will provide the finance, it will help those people. Next, foreign banks, those banks which are registered in foreign countries. Those are not registered or originated, means started in India. They are not started in India, they are registered outside the India. Those banks are considered as foreign banks. Next, local area banks. These banks serve primarily in rural and semi-urban areas. So local area banks, they generally survive in the rural and semi-urban areas. Okay, semi-urban areas, in the villages and also in semi-urban areas, just like in mandals. Areas comprising three contiguous districts, means it will cover nearly 3 districts. Near 3 districts ni cover చేస్తుంది. నల్గొండ ఉంది, నల్గొండకి దగ్గరగా ఉన్న 3 districts, నల్గొండ, భోన్గిర్, నెక్స్ట్ సూర్యాపేట్, 3 districtsని కవర్ చేసుకుంటుంది. ఇలా 3 districts వాళ్ళకు సర్వీస్ అనేది ప్రొవైడ్ చేస్తుంది. దట్ టైప్ ఆఫ్ బ్యాంక్స్ ఆర్ నోన్ యాజ్ లోకల్ ఏరియా బ్యాంక్స్. దీస్ ఆర్ ద కంప్రైజెస్ ఆఫ్ 3 contingent districts. అట్లీస్ట్ 3 contingent దగ్గరగా ఉన్న డిస్ట్రిక్ట్స్ని 3 districtsని కవర్ చేస్తుంది. నెక్స్ట్, నాన్ షెడ్యూల్డ్ బ్యాంక్. ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ రిజిస్టర్డ్, ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ ఇంక్లూడెడ్ ఇన్ ద Second Schedule of Banking Regulation Act 1965. These banks are not included in the Second Schedule of Banking Regulation Act of 1965. They did not show any certificates to the RBI. The RBI is not at all satisfied with them. The RBI have no right on them. They will also not show any accounts to RBI. Their accounts are not been audited by the RBI. The RBI will just not involve in anything. They can't borrow money from the RBI. RBI దగ్గర నుంచి వీళ్ళు అమౌంట్ కూడా ఏం బారో చేయలేరు, బికాస్ ద RBI is not interested, because they are not in the schedule of Banking Regulation Act 1965. So the RBI is not at all interested in these non-scheduled banks. For regular banking purpose, the bank is not going to satisfy the RBI, and RBI is also not interested to see what is going on these non-scheduled banks, what is happening in the non-scheduled banks, because they are not under the second schedule of Banking Regulation Act 1965. So at present, up to March 2020, according to that records, we have 22 private banks, 43 RRBs, means regional rural banks, 40 three banks we have, 45 foreign banks, 45 foreign banks, 4 local area banks, 4 local area banks, 8 small financing banks, 8 small finance banks, 12 public sector banks, 12 public sector banks. So this is about the, what is this? This is about the classification of banks, how the banks are classified and what are they doing and how they are helping us and how we have to use the banks, how we get the services from the banks. This is about the chapter, that is the banking services or financial services. The bank always provide the financial services to the customers. Let us meet with the new topic in the new session. Up to then you have to do reading, practicing, and this is important question. Types of classification of banks is important question, and the functions of the banks is also important question. These questions will be asked for 10 marks. So don't waste the time. Just you read these two. These two questions are very, very important for 10 marks. Okay. So the remaining questions may be asked for 5 marks, but these two questions are very important. So read it. Very easy it is. Okay. Yes. Let us meet in the next class. Right.